Good evening, everyone. No football this week, but we're going to cover some hot topics of Chelsea sacking their manager Tuchel and Potter in, and also do some fun games of start, sub, and sell. So there'll be a few debates between us four on who should fit what. So Starting 11 podcast. You right, T?
I'm good. Thank you guys for inviting me on. This is like my debut, so thank you very much.
No worries. Let's hopefully you score. Not with any of us. Shell, how are you doing?
Yeah, not bad actually. Obviously, sad news about the Queen passing. So obviously, sending our love and respects to the royal family. But obviously, that resulted in a postponement of football, which was quite a nice time to just reflect and chill actually. And then obviously gives us an opportunity to kind of play this fun kind of game. And I mean, let's hope that we're all still friends afterwards. Is all I'm going to say.
Bill,
I am all good, mate. I'm happy about not having the football only because it gives Potter time. That's all I'm happy about. It gives Potter time to get in with the training, so we're able to be a team again. Fingers crossed, anyway.
So for anyone who didn't join last week, this is our second show, and you might have been able to tell from Billy's chat there that he's a Chelsea fan. We've got a good mix here. Mr. T to Brees is a Liverpool fan, and Shell is an Arsenal fan. And we used to be in the Premier League. I'm a Pompey fan, but football. So let's go on to our first topic then, of probably story of the week. I mean, I don't want to show off and say I called it, but on last week's show, I didn't say that would happen, but in terms of this quick, but I did say that he would be sacked. So, Shal, what do you think? I'm a mind reader.
I was shocked. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. For me, I'm a bit like, was he trying to prove a point by sacking him that quickly? Because I don't think that, after we saw Liverpool's game the next day, should Klopp be sacked? Obviously not. But I don't know if he was trying to stamp his ground, but I think there was definitely something up in the dressing room. Because if you look at even his statement, it clearly wasn't a mutual agreement. I definitely think there was kind of unrest. And I was actually discussing this yesterday, actually, if he had the players on side, would he have been sacked that quickly? Maybe not. So I definitely think the club was kind of not backing him. The players weren't really backing him, hence why he went that quickly. I don't know if
do you think though, because Tuchel's always strike me as one of these managers that is never. I don't know, but he doesn't strike me as a manager who's always very close to his players. As strange as that sounds, you've got your sort of Klopp, Guardiolas. Quite a lot of managers, actually, you sort of see their interactions on the sidelines. You do sometimes with Tuchel, but it just strikes me that it's not a negative, by the way. I just feel like he manages by sort of authority a little bit, which a lot of managers do. Bit like Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, I guess so. But Jose still had his relationship with certain players. We all know how close he was with Drogba, etc. So, I still think that there's an element of closeness with at least some of the players, whereas I think Tuchel, I think he did a great job though. He had no relationship with any of them and he won the Champions League. So I think that's fair. They respected him. But I think with this whole process, I definitely think from the kind of early friendlies when he said that, that meant when Chelsea lost to Arsenal in the friendly, remembering that moment, he was like,
I remember that. Funny enough, I can't remember what happened there.
Yeah, you can't. But then, so obviously with that, he was after his post-match interview, it was just like a lot of players' heads were gone. And I was quite shocked that he was saying it was like half the players don't want to be there. It was quite a negative press conference. So from that point, I kind of knew there is more.
And that's quite early on, isn't it? To be like that, really, over a friendly game as well.
Yeah, and I just think it was quite negative. Even though, obviously you were saying he doesn't have a relationship with players, I get that. But I thought that was quite brave to say that so early on pre-season. So I always knew that obviously there's something else more going on behind the scenes.
Was that him begging for a transfer budget though? Because I hear managers say stuff like that all the time in pre-season, and that is their aim.
Yeah, but to be fair, he did. I mean, he didn't have no budget. Like, we're not talking Lampard's days. So, like, the opportunities were there, and I guess there was issues in terms of the whole Barcelona transfers and that whole beef. I mean, that's a whole drama in itself. But I do think there was something more. It was always kind of brewing, but I just didn't expect it to happen that quickly. I don't think anyone did. No one called it. If you ask anyone who's going to get sacked this season, no, you called it. No, you called it, but you would never have called it after that first Champions League game. That was quick. Like, I mean,
but I did see it early. I did see
it.
Yeah,
you did. But I give you credit for we were all like, no, it won't be that quick. But I don't think anyone expected it to be this early in the season, considering what he's already achieved with the club, right?
Yeah. What do you think, Bill?
I'm going to let T speak first.
Yeah, we'll go to T and then
I've got a lot. As a Chelsea fan, I know a lot more. Not than you guys, but I've probably
yeah. No.
You might get emotional, Bill. It's all right. Let T speak. You collect your thoughts and emotions, and then we'll wait.
Chelsea do kind of have this habit, and like it is a pattern after 3 years. They always seem to replace the manager, no matter what you've won. Happened with Was it Matteo that literally won you the Champions League, and then literally he got sacked a couple of months afterwards. And it's kind of weird how Tuchel said his team wasn't ruthless and literally had to be stronger. And we're talking about the same defense that were very strong the season before. And we're like talking in a space of a couple of months. I mean, it doesn't really surprise me, but no, tell like it does, because the owner spent quite a lot of money, and there like must have been something going on.
That's what surprises me the most, actually. Yeah. The budget, to be honest, followed by that. That's probably the biggest surprise.
Yeah,
$250,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, because you
normally, if you're backing the manager, you're looking short to long term in that squad then coming together and working. So it is a bit odd, and unless they sort of, I can only think that maybe they had this in their minds before he signed some of these players.
I don't think the owners or like the powers that be would have signed off Sterling, Aubameyang.
Oh, I think they would. In modern football, I think they would. I mean, you've only got to look. I know they're very different clubs, and to be fair, Chelsea's been transfer business has been a lot better. But you look at United, you look at a lot of footballs with like clubs with like director of footballs, like positions where certain people within the football club are choosing the transfers over. You look at Edu at Arsenal, Shell. There's certain people. So I do think potentially that, because it's just odd for me in terms of sacking a manager and giving them that major budget. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think going on, I'm going to start with the pros of Tuchel. I think we need to realise what he has done since the start. I mean, 5-6 months he signed. He then won the Champions League. He got to 2 other finals and won the Club World Cup as well. He won 2 trophies, got to 4 finals, and he only lost on penalties as well on one of the finals. So it's not like we were we got wiped out. All of Tuchel's signings that were brought in were Tuchel signings. Bowley said, here's a wallet, here's a stack of money, go out and get what you need. And yeah, I think it was weird to see him sacked so early. But with one thing I haven't heard yet is that Tuchel actually went for a divorce this year. Tuchel got divorced from his wife this year. So you have to look at personal lives.
Yeah, unrest, yeah.
And him, I mean, if I was divorced from my wife and still trying to manage a club, bearing in mind you've got to potentially be part owner of the club as well. I mean, with the Roman Abramovich situation, there was no one really at the top of the board. No one knew what they were doing. So it was down to Tuchel really to manage it all. And then you had on top of that, the Lukaku situation. When he was brought in, he went to the media and basically said that he weren't happy and that he wishes he was back at Inter. So you have to factor in all the other attributes into what he has done for us. And yes, he was sacked way too early. I say way too early. After the performance against Dynamo Zagreb, I said after that game, give him 6 weeks. See what happens after 6 weeks. See when he's got his system in properly, when he's got the players he wants, the players he likes, the players that he needs, then we can start looking at, actually, is he the right man for the job?
I normally do comments after, Bill, but I want you to answer this one because I think it's a really interesting point. So did Cucurella know he chose Chelsea over City and now Potter's there? I think that's really good.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting.
Cucurella didn't know. And the reason I say that he probably picked Chelsea over City is you've got to look at who have City got and who have Chelsea got in them areas.
Yeah, that's true. Very good point.
Cancelo is never getting dropped. Absolutely never in a million years getting dropped.
Yeah, that's true.
Chilwell, you could see Chilwell not actually being well, and he has been injured a couple of times as well. He's not the fittest, but you've got to look at all them sort of factors. And I think Cucurella looked at both jobs and said, right, which one am I going to be playing more, and which one am I going to be sitting on the bench more? And I think that he picked Chelsea in the fact that Chilwell was there and not Cancelo.
Yeah, that's a solid point, Bill. Really good point. And I don't know, because we're playing a few start-sell sort of questions. So whilst we're on the Chelsea subject, I'm just going to flick through some of the comments that the guys have said. And Tony Headness has said that they signed the players irrespective of Tuchel, similar to what I said. I just think a club, especially with new owners, they would have had a plan in terms of not just the type of player they want, but sort of, I think the flair they want to have. Like signings like Aubameyang, for me, is not really about the money or the quality. It's sort of that style of person at your club does entice quite a lot of support and stuff, I believe. So I just can't see Tuchel signing Aubameyang personally. I thought it was a strange signing, but to me it makes sense more now that he's been let.
The reason I say Tuchel's made the signings is the fact that Bowley actually said to Tuchel, I want to sign Ronaldo for Chelsea, and Tuchel turned around and said, no, he's not going to fit my system. He's not a player that I want. And they actually got into an argument over it, and Bowley wasn't happy with the fact that Tuchel didn't want Ronaldo in his squad. So the reason that happened, I think that it showed Tuchel sort of had his pick of the players, because Bowley pushed for Ronaldo and Tuchel said that it didn't fit his system. He didn't want him playing for us. And I think Bowley saw it more as a financial sort of aspect of it. If Ronaldo signed for Chelsea, the amount of of shirt sales that would have went through, the amount of
true.
And I think Bowley saw it as a business side, and I think Tuchel looked at it as a management side and said, look, he's not going to fit my system. I don't want him. And that's one of the reasons why they did have arguments, and potentially which led him to get sacked. Not the only reason, of course, but one of them.
But also as well, I want to kind of say, well, they've signed Aubameyang, and everyone kind of knows what type of baggage he brings to a club. So why would you want that and then sack the manager who's vetoed that for him to be for Aubameyang now to be working under someone new?
Yeah, I can imagine Potter though is quite an easy manager to work with. Paulie Smith has popped this comment on here. What's your thoughts on Potter going to Chelsea? I mean, he has said for Billy, but I'll ask Shao, and I'll ask all of you really, because I think it's really interesting. I mean, I'll start on this subject and I'll be very brief with it. I think had a foreign manager, for whatever reason, done what Potter has done with Brighton over the last 2 years, I think they would have already been touted, because I think it's not just where Brighton have finished in the table. For me, it's a club of Brighton size playing the way they do, week in, week out, regardless of who they're against, keeping the possession of the football and looking good. I mean, he must, not just him, his coaching staff, which he's also brought over. I said I'll keep this brief, but essentially what I'm trying to say is that he doesn't get enough credit. Because he said it himself, because he doesn't look like, good looking and nice hair and a tan, and he, looks Portuguese and half Spanish. I do think for some reason that's why English managers don't get a chance. I think he's done outstanding, and when you look at him, I think he might fail. But actually, when I look at what he produces with Brighton, I don't think I think he could be an absolute major success, and I think it's a fantastic appointment.
I don't know. It does make me nervous when managers go from like a club like Brighton, which granted he's done really well with, to Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea especially. We all know how many managers that club has gone through. I just think it's naturally set yourself up almost for like a massive challenge and a massive fail. That's my only thing, because there's so much expectation, right? That's the problem.
And you're bang on, Shell, but it's very strange Potter scenario, because for me, his style of football actually suits better players in a bigger club. Most managers achieve by getting the most out of their team in a sense of almost draining them for better than they are. But he's done something very different in Brighton in the terms of how he sets them up, how they play football, how they modern day sort of possession stats. And I don't think we've seen an English manager do what he's done in the modern game, and that's why I think he might work. If that makes any sense, he's not your standard manager stepping up.
No, it does. But I think as well with the modern game, you're not managing just like styles of play. You're managing egos. You're managing, like, as T described, baggage. Like, I think that's the other extra element that we need to factor in as well. And as I said, like, Chelsea's a massive club, so there's a lot more pressure and there's a lot more eyes on it than there is on Brighton. Let's be honest. I mean, like, let's take Lampard, for example, right? So, like, he's obviously a Chelsea legend. Obviously, that job was too big for him. But again, who'd say no? If they come knocking and going, do you want to manage Chelsea? I'd say yes. Why not? If I could just mess up the club, I'll just do it. But, like, you wouldn't say no to it. So, like, and that was a big enough job for Lampard. I just worry with Potter. I mean, great achievements with Brighton. I just think with the egos of, like, Aubameyang, I just don't know how he's going to manage that. That's my only concern. I think it might have been too big for him. I think if he'd gone to, like, I don't know, maybe like a Newcastle or something, a stepping stone up before Chelsea, I think I'd have more hopes for him. But I don't know if he'll last a year. I don't know. This is me.
I think he's going to be great.
Very speculative, but
with Potter, I think before we had to look at, we had three sort of managers that we were looking at. We had Pochettino, we had Potter, and we had Zidane. Zidane, for me, would have been a short-term fix. I don't think he would have done anything special. I think we could have probably pushed for Champions League or something with Zidane's sort of mentality and the way he plays. He normally plays with a 4-3-3. We got Pochettino, who's with a 4-3-3 as well, from what I've seen. But I don't want this. This sounds mad, but I don't want a Spurs man at Chelsea. I don't want Potter to Chelsea. It's just because, I don't like Spurs. Simple as that. No. But moving on to Potter, then Potter is an exciting manager. Yes, it's a big job for him, but he's also got a background of, once he retired from professional football, he did actually go and get degrees in what was it? I think it was something to do with the mental side of it, or like the psychology, and all them sorts of bits. So I think having them sorts of egos in dressing rooms, I think he's going to adapt and deal with that quite well. I think with his social background, with the degrees and how he's learned how people think, how they act, all them sorts of bits, I think that could potentially help him push.
And also sometimes, like, egos of managers as well sometimes clash with players. Potter comes across to me as someone without an ego at all. He's quite free-flowing, and actually maybe that'll work with some of the more difficult personalities, if that makes sense.
And with Potter as well, he produces exciting football. He produces football that you actually like to watch. I wouldn't go and watch Brighton prior to Potter, but after hearing, like, he can go and beat like United, he can go and push a draw against Liverpool, or he can go and push these sorts of teams, I click on and watch Brighton. I'm like, they play well. They play with a lot of confidence, and I think that they're a great side. And to have Potter, who's the head of that, the helm of that club, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Because with Tuchel, it just got boring and it got so predictable. And I think that's one of the things that we lost, is how predictable our team play. And I think it's a mentality with it as well. Like with the Champions League game, Mason Mount dropped his head not far into the game. I think it may have even been before we conceded the goal. And I'm only selecting him. But, yeah, there's other players and we just don't look like we're up for it. But
no, I mean, Mason Mount's well gone off the boil, isn't he? He's just really off.
I think that's the way we play as well, though. I think the position we have him in, and the position that he plays, I don't think that Tuchel's put him where he wants to play or where he's best at playing. But yeah,
I've like got a few comments, and I'll literally try and round it up. I think Potter is very similar to, is it Marco Silva at Fulham? You know, like Silva came in, he was manager at Watford, or was it somewhere? Oh, sorry, Hull, and then Watford, and then of course people were lauding him, and then of course he went to Everton. It didn't do well, so like he took a step back, and like now people are saying, you know, Fulham are playing absolutely amazing. And again, that's probably to what Joe was saying in terms of how a lot of the foreign managers are lauded rather than some of like the kind of, you know, English homegrown coaches, i.e.
homegrown talents, isn't they?
Yeah,
really?
Talent. You know, Eddie Howe and also Potter. Also, as well, regarding Tuchel personal issues, and again, of course, you know, everyone's like a human being, and you know, things affect people differently. However, I still wouldn't expect players to down tools. They are professional players who literally have a job to do. If our bosses had any issues, personal issues, I don't think any of us would down tool in our roles and responsibilities.
Yeah, but maybe not us, but people do.
You know what? Actually, Chelsea have a habit of doing that, though. Let's not forget when Mourinho was manager and everyone was like, they didn't really want to pay for him. Didn't Hazard go down injured? And like, there was a whole, that was a whole mutiny from the whole Chelsea team. So maybe it's a Chelsea thing. I don't know. Like when they're not
fired.
I know, literally, when they're not happy with a manager, like they all just go a bit like ski whiff. And as you know, what? Mason Mount dropped his head, and like we've seen it before. So
I think it's a modern day football thing. To be honest, it happens more now than it ever did.
It does. But I think it's a common thread with Chelsea, though. Let's not lie. Like I don't know. Like there's obviously everyone goes through spells. Like even Arsenal have had it with Emery. Like we've had those moments. Arteta, obviously, famously with Aubameyang, etc. But I think it's very rare you see like almost the whole club do that, and Chelsea have a habit of that happening. I mean, Billy can defend them, but the evidence is there. Is all I'm going to say.
Just the last point I want to put up here is from Tony again. Just advising some good old stats here from Tony. Keep him rolling, mate. We conceded 53 goals in Tuchel's last 50 games. That's quite a mammoth amount for a club of Chelsea stature in their league, really.
Yeah, but it's
only with the back line, you've got experience. Yeah, that is some.
Yeah, but like if you break it down, that's like one a game, and like Chelsea, with like their attacking prowess, you would expect them to score, 2 or 3 goals. So that's not bad. It's not bad.
How many goals have we scored in the last 50 games? That's what.
Yeah, come on, Tony. Come on,
Tony on his stat man.
Tony's our stat man. Yeah, I've hired him in.
One thing I've got to say on that point quickly with the 53 goals conceded is during the last 50 games, we've had to go through a spell where Rudiger and Christensen, we have to look at them too. They were both pretty much starters at Chelsea.
Yeah.
Christensen not so much.
Bill, I know you say they were starters, but they weren't. Chelsea have always been a bit strange in the sense of Chalobah gets a few games, praise brilliant. Don't see him again for a couple of months. Christensen gets a run. You've had sort of players that have come through. The only one that actually did stick a little bit is Rudiger. But I find Chelsea quite strange. They take people that are playing well and sort of leave them out the team for a bit. I've found that for the last few years. And Christensen's like a prime example for me, who was playing regularly, playing well, and then just dropped because someone else got fresh.
Was he playing well? I don't know. My memories of Christensen are very different. I think he's always got a mistake with him. So I don't know.
I wasn't a massive fan of Christian. I
wasn't. But I was obviously when we were playing against him. But yeah.
So we'll end this Chelsea discussion. We'll go on to the other bits we've got. But before we move on, I'm going to ask each of you where you think Chelsea will finish with Potter at the helm at the end of this year. And I don't want any or two. You have to pick one position from 1st to 20th. Shout, where will...
Fifth. David, I've told you. Fifth. That's where they're finishing. Below
T?
Arsenal.
4th.
Oh.
Bill? Head or heart answer is...
I feel like he's frozen. I feel like he's frozen. He's pondering that so much. The wife had to cut him off because they knew he was about to lie. He's going to say he's going to finish first. They're going to win the league.
But I'll pretend to be Bill. 16th, Joe. I think they'll finish 16th.
Where do you think they'll finish, Joe?
I am going to say they will finish 5th.
Yeah, thanks. You agree with me?
I like it. I wouldn't call it an agreement. I wouldn't call it an agreement. I think if they click, they could go as high as 2nd, but 5th is what I'm going for.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have to think he's a new manager, right? So needs time. I mean, he's got an extra week, but yeah, okay. I reckon 5th is probably the highest, personally.
So Billy's dropped out. He ain't paid his Wi-Fi bill again. Even though he's had a power cut. But I will give him 2 minutes to join. So if he's not coming,
I reckon we just roll on with this. I mean, let's do some of the Chelsea ones. Actually, doesn't it get a say?
Well, we will roll on, and so we are now going to cover some start, sell, and sub. So I should have probably done that in order: start, sub, and sell. So we will go through 3 players. The players will probably be closely linked in talent or the amount of fans or position. So it should be quite a tight debate. So we'll start off with this one. So you have to pick one. Again, my only rules of this game, you always got to have rules, is you have to pick one. No one can get out of jail free with, oh no, I don't know. So the first question then. Start, sub, or sell Bale, Hazard, and Salah all at their prime. T?
Oh,
don't be biased now.
No,
T won't be biased.
Okay, so I would.
Apologies.
Welcome back, Bill.
Welcome back.
I don't know what
50p in the meter,
I don't know what happened.
He heard Hazard and he came running back. Look at him. Typical Chelsea fan.
So I would sell Bale. I will start Hazard, and I would bench Salah.
Interesting. I'd agree with you starting Hazard, but I would sub on Bale and sell Salah.
Ooh. Bill?
So I would start Salah. I'm not. Absolutely not. In a million years. Never. Hazard. Hazard is starting. Then Bale. Then Salah. The exact same as Michelle.
I am starting... I'm starting Salah. I'm benching Bale and I'm selling Hazard.
Okay, we need to discuss why we starting Salah.
So for me,
I mean, prime Salah,
and he's still in his prime. He's got about another year left. He's just fell off the wagon for a week or two. But for me, Salah gets goals from him in terms of like he's quite high up the pitch on that right hand side. He gets that many goals, but the other front line get just as many. And for a midfielder, because I don't class him as an attacker, he's only played down the middle a couple of times. I just think the amount of goals that he scored is insane. And actually, when you look at all 3 of these players, they all have quite a similar sort of freedom to be able to attack wherever they want. And it's just Salah's goal assist ratio is... compared to Hazard and Bale, is far superior.
Would you argue, though, that that's a different system? Because, I mean, let's be real here. Hazard in Chelsea, he wasn't used to that inside forward cutting in and just going for goal. He was more the creativity.
Yeah, he was more of a creator, than a front.
Whereas Salah, for instance, he's used more. I don't know. Tabriz can speak on this more, but Firmino up front drops a little deeper, receives the ball, does the fancy flicks or whatever, and has Mane or Salah running inside to score the goals. So if we're arguing on goals, then we have to go with Salah. But overall, as a package, I think Hazard was more important to Chelsea than Bale was and Salah was to their teams.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, as much as I hate to say it, but Hazard as a player, I mean, he easily could dragged Chelsea through a couple of games. Like, I mean, I can't remember who Chelsea were playing, but when you're 10 men and Hazard literally scored the winner. Like, I think that's
he was so good.
I remember watching that thinking, do you know what? I see, like, there's no hype about Hazard. He's an amazing player. It's actually obviously really sad what happened to him when he went to Real Madrid. But I think in his prime, I think he's a game changer, like massively, and actually doesn't really need.
Oh, they're all game changers. Maybe Bale probably the least out of them three.
Do you think so?
The least. I have more memorable moments of Hazard and Bale more than I do Salah. Obviously, I don't want Liverpool.
I fully agree, Bill.
I can see Bale in the Champions League finals scoring amazing goals, or Bale doing important games, or even if not important, he has done.
I can see Salah getting injured and his shoulder being out and him going off in the Champions League final. So you make a good point, to be fair.
It's a sore point. It's a sore point for T, but it happened. But yeah, I agree. I think there's been game-changing moments, Bale and Hazard. Hence why they'll be my start and sub. Salah, I think he has assistance within Liverpool, and actually we're seeing it now. He always starts off quite slow in the Premier League, which I'm like, I don't know, that something needs to change in him. And actually, to be fair, this season I don't know if he's going to get into that.
He will, but there needs to be a formation change. But that's another conversation. But he'll hit his stride for sure. Are we ready for the next one?
I think so. Yeah. I think we're largely in agreement with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Largely.
I think I remember when Hazard actually manhandled Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. Wow.
Okay, do you know what, T? I mean, that was actually manhandled. We're about to move on.
No, but I think he just kind of bounced off. Is it Coquelin, and then someone else came in, and it was just hard. It was a joy to watch.
No, but Hazard used to do that. He did literally used to bounce off people, and he always used to do the short give and go. His give and goes weren't long. It was like boom, 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 and he was just. He moved very dynamically, very quickly, left and right. But
would you like to change your opinion?
That's what are you, Joe?
No. I'm sticking with my opinion, but I'm probably thinking more if I was to set up a side. I can't disagree with what any of you are saying on this one. There will definitely be ones that I 100% disagree with some, if not all of you on. But this one, I can't disagree on anyone's. This can go any way for me.
I mean, I think if Bale was at Spurs for maybe a season or two after that amazing season that he had, then we could be talking about maybe Bale starting.
Yeah, fair.
But like Bale in his prime, man, he was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Do you think Bale, if he stayed in the Prem and he was at top or Spurs the entire time, but still played the same, like the level of goals he was scoring, all them sorts of bits, would you?
No. Rate him? I thought you was going to say, would Tottenham have won a trophy? No.
But yeah, do you think the Premier League being rated harder as well? I mean, with the Spanish league, no offense to the La Liga, but I think doing it in the Premier League would be a lot harder than doing it in the Liga. So would you have rated Bale more and potentially started him if he was at Spurs longer, if not the entire time?
Potentially, yeah. But then it could have worked against him, because sometimes if you're the only player that stands out all the time, it sort of almost doesn't stand out. It's just a bit same, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Because he was playing in a poor Spurs side. To be honest, if you can sort of imagine, if he was a bit younger and he broke into sort of the Spurs side now, Christ, that would be something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if the leagues, like, we always talk about Ronaldo, like, how great he is because he actually did it. He performed in La Liga, the Premier League, like Serie A. Like I I don't think it's the league. I think like with Bale, fair enough, he stayed at Tottenham. He probably would have been that elite, but I think it was just the injuries. Same with Hazard, right? Exactly the same thing that happened to Bale happened to Hazard, like that series of injuries. And I think that kind of killed their kind of like, let's say career. They're somewhat still going, but killed their kind of prospects in that respect. So I don't think it's the league, so to speak. I just think it was just unfortunate what happened to them afterwards, really.
Right. So in summary, I think Hazard
starts. Yeah.
Start. Bale.
Sub
and Salah.
Yeah.
Or are we going sub Salah?
So, Breeze, what are you arguing on?
I would sell Bale and
I would sell Bale.
Okay. I reckon it's a draw.
Would you start Salah?
No. I would let's start Hazard.
Right. Let's move to the next one. Then that's a draw.
So you have
this
some.
one is another juicy one. So we've got prime Desai, prime Campbell, and prime Vidic. As always, I'll kick off my on this. It's a bit easier because it's out of two. Desai doesn't get close to Campbell or Vidic. Not even close.
Look at his face. I don't know if no, Joe.
Desai was a strong.
Go on, Joe.
Desai was a strong defender, but ability-wise, he was. Don't get me wrong, he was good. I watched him a lot, but he is not Campbell Vidic's level. Not even close. So for me, I would start Campbell. I would. Oh, it could be Vidic. No, I'm going to start Campbell, bench Vidic, and I am selling Desai back to France.
I'm going to speak on mine. I'm starting Vidic. I'm benching Desai, and then I'm selling Campbell.
What?
I'm going to go next. I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to start Campbell, sub Desai, and sell Vidic.
Yeah, no, that's...
And I'll explain my Vidic decision afterwards, but you guys go.
All right, so I'm starting Desai, selling Vidic, benching Campbell.
What?
Go on. Like you go.
I was just going to say, so I'm the only one selling Campbell in this.
Yeah, we noticed that. We ignored that.
Campbell was a unit, and my God, he got you the odd goal. His sliding tackles were something else. He was a machine.
But
well, I mean, we can say that about all three of them, but Desai had the ability to play defensive mid when, literally it wasn't a thing for a centre-back to play defensive mid. He scored an amazing goal against Barcelona to actually win AC Milan the Champions League. It was honestly like any striker would have literally, it was amazing.
I think he was quite square.
Listen, like they called Desai the Rock for a reason. I'm saying, there was a reason why
he didn't move.
The Rock.
He didn't move.
Like, guys, again, like Marcel Desai is the reason why I wear Adidas right now. I swear down to you. Yeah. I swear down because I remember the commercial and it was a crane. It was a crane bowling. It was a crane thingy. What do you call it? It was the wrecking ball thing.
Wrecking ball, yeah.
I'm sorry, my brain works in weird ways. I just had a vision of Desai coming in your screen going, "Cheers for wearing my stuff tee."
Honestly, literally, Desai, you're the reason why I wear Adidas. But again, with Desai, again, if you kind of think about the teams that he kind of played for, Marseille at the time, they were literally like the pomp of the French league. AC Milan, who are lauded again for the defensive style of play, Baresi, Maldini, Costa Curta, and then going to Chelsea in his kind of older age and still bossing that Chelsea team.
But did he? He bossed the Chelsea team that used to come like 9th every season. So did he boss it?
Listen, I mean, hey, you know what? I mean, we can agree to disagree, but that's the reason why Marcel Dassey,
Mr. Adidas. Right, so that's a bit of a mix, isn't it? So I would say that who had to start Campbell? I've got to start Campbell.
I've got to start Campbell as well. Mine was.
You've got to start Vidic.
I said Vidic. I said Vidic.
Yeah, so I think it goes Campbell, Desai, Vidic is vote in order. Yeah,
I just think for Vidic, I mean, you guys could disagree. I don't know how much of his brilliance and how good he looked was down to.
Don't say down to Ferdinand.
Yes, I will say it. I said it.
Well, Ferdinand was the baller of the two. Vidic was just an animal. Vidic was an animal, and he was a very good.
Let's not lie.
But footballing ability, he was below both of them two on that list for sure for me.
Someone who was carried their career by their centre-back partner is Gary Cahill. He got carried by John Terry.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
That's someone who got carried. Vidic, on the other hand, I don't think he got carried. Them two.
No, not carried, but
he didn't get carried.
Helped along.
That partnership is the reason. That's the reason why it worked. It worked so well, and that's why I can't say Vidic on his own because I see that as a partnership personally. Where's the rest?
So the answer is Campbell, Desai, Vidic. So we're going to the next one, which will definitely be controversial because it's managers. So, prime, one of them are potentially still in their prime, but I think they've all reached it. So, manager-wise, for your club, are you taking prime Wenger boys, prime Mourinho, or prime Guardiola? I'll kick off again, and for me, this is quite easy-ish. Not easy. I am taking prime Guardiola is starting. I am benching prime Wenger, and I am selling prime Mourinho. And the reason being is because Wenger's style of football just made me love the game. It made me love the game, and it's still what people refer to. I know he's not going to help himself for the last few years that he clung on. But the football he brought to the Premier League and that style is something that I'll always be in love with to the day I die. And I'm not an Arsenal fan. It's not just how it's not just because they challenged United at the time. It was how they challenged United. They challenged United by having more of the ball. You know, not just being the ugly Arsenal of old. They sort of slowly converted themselves into a footballing side, and I think they changed the game, the Premier League, as much or more than any other team in its era. Guardiola is because of the tick-attack of football he plays. It's so easy on the eye, and I think that he develops players very well. I think he's a very good coach. I think Klopp isn't on it, but I think Klopp's a better manager in terms of people. But I think Guardiola's individually the best coach that I've ever seen. And me for Mourinho, unfortunately, he's damaged his legacy a little bit for me because I think his ego often got the better of how good a manager he was. So just personal preference.
What is prime Mourinho?
The Chelsea.
It's got to be Chelsea. It's got to be Chelsea.
First time round of Chelsea.
Yeah, it's got to be first round of Chelsea.
But then, yeah.
So, what seasons or what periods are we getting their primes off? So, what's prime?
Well, it's whatever you believe their prime is. You might see it. You might see his prime as the second spell. I mean, for me, his prime was definitely the first spell. Between 2006? No, 2006, 7 to about 2009, 10, was it? Would you say?
Yeah. Up to 2
Go on. No, I was just going to agree. Go on.
I mean, I agreed with you with Pep in terms of I would start him, and this is a little bit controversial to me. Please, all Arsenal fans, do not hate me, but I would probably sub in Mourinho and sell Wenger just because I know we'll talk about prime.
Judas.
No, but I know, but we'll talk about prime. But even in Wenger's prime, we didn't win a Champions League. We only made one final. Fair enough, we went a whole season without losing, which was great.
You should have got turned over by Pompey as well both times. But there we go.
Side note. But do you know what I mean? I think if I'm taking away my love for Arsenal, like ripping out my heart and being totally honest, I think the achievements of Mourinho and Pep kind of somewhat dwarf.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, I love Wenger. I met him, love you if you're listening. But really,
well, if he's listening, he's just turned off.
He's left the building.
In the chat and he's gone. You've ruined it.
He's left the building. But yeah, I'm saying that, but no one come for me.
T?
I would love Wenger to be the Liverpool manager, and then Pep in the background, and then bin off Mourinho.
Yeah,
and it's kind of very similar to what you said, Joe. I think what Wenger brought to the Premier League was literally breathtaking. And if you can look at the team that he inherited, Adams, Bold,
a
Dixon,
hard team.
Howard,
football in there.
Yeah. And to actually get them playing, to kind of get Henry from a no-name like Monaco player to probably the best striker in the Premiership. But again, that's kind of up for debate. Of course, the unbeaten season, that was just unbelievable. And again, it was that kind of swagger and that aggression that he brought to every single Arsenal kind of, I'd say, revamp. And of course, he lost it after, probably closer to the end. But yeah, Wenger for me was just unbelievable. Mourinho, yeah, great, but he would just mess up the dressing room and he'll kind of just leave the club in some sort of disarray.
The ego, wouldn't it? His ego sometimes helped him and also damaged him a lot.
Yeah,
sometimes.
And of course, Pep is Pep. But also as well, I was kind of thinking as well, we have Klopp now, which is very, very similar. But yeah, I would literally love again Wenger for the legacy that should not be forgotten, and literally what he brought to our beloved game.
Bill,
I can't. So I'm starting Mourinho.
What?
And the reason I'm starting Mourinho, right, is not only did he win the Champions League with Porto, right? Let's look at all accomplishments. European football, Mourinho stamps these two by a country mile.
Yeah.
Let's add that up. Mourinho also, I think.
But not by a country mile. Guardiola's won it twice.
Yeah, I was going to say Guardiola's close. I mean.
Yeah. If Mourinho has won it with Porto and Milan. Yeah, I think they're similar in European competition. Sorry.
So you put Porto, who won the Champions League with Mourinho.
Yeah, true. They're better accomplishments.
Barcelona.
No, he's got better. Yeah, he's better accomplishments per team for sure.
And I think that not only you said to Bruce, you touched upon the fact that when Wenger came in, he was pushing Man United, and them two were battling it out. Mourinho came in and beat both. Let's add that in. Let's rewind. Okay, Mourinho also came in, battled both of them. It wasn't just he joined and he had to face United twice in a season like Wenger did. He had to fight both of them, right? And he came out on top sometimes, other times he didn't. But yeah, I would start Mourinho. I would then bench Guardiola, and then I'd sell Wenger. Guardiola, you can't argue.
After all of us, because 3 of us sold Mourinho, so I think it's it's probably how many people had Wenger as their starting? I did, and you did too. So I think it's I think that comes out as Wenger, Guardiola, Mourinho.
Wenger in.
Right, let's get on to the next one because this is a bit juicy. So, prime Zidane, I love these players here. Prime Ronaldinho and prime Ronaldo R9. Can I just say there definitely isn't a right answer here for three outstanding players. But for me, I am starting Zidane. I am benching R9 and I am selling Ronaldinho. So again, I always think if I was to build a team, Zidane had it all. I mean, all three of these. Well, actually, no, I wouldn't say all three of them had it all. But Zidane for me is the most complete player of this three. Like for me, if you put in, there's teams with flair players, there's teams with finishers, but no one with Zidane's ability to take the ball, to control a game. He was an absolute master. R9, just for his finishing, I think without knee injuries, he probably would have been up there with potentially one of the best players of all time. A lot of people still consider him as one of the best players of all time, but actually his amount of games were quite low for the span he had across football. And actually, I think he was really unlucky. I mean, how good he was at Madrid and Milan as well when he got over that first injury after major injuries is incredible. And I mean, it's a shame we never got to see actually what he would have become if he could have stayed clear from them injuries. What a finisher. You're talking about a person, I've never been so sure about someone tucking the ball in the net. He was deadly. And Ronaldinho, I mean, I'm going to get crucified for this because I'm so Ronaldinho. Fantastic player, but I think when you're Ronaldinho, for me, was limited on the period of time he'd done it. He only actually, for me, had a couple of years where he was really at the top level at a club and dominated, which was at Barca. And for me, he's a flair player, and Zidane was a flair player, to be honest, but I don't think I'd miss his flicks and tricks as much as I'd miss Zidane absolutely stumping all over a game. He's, for me, as Zizou is the main man. I wish he was English.
If he was English, he literally wouldn't have started for England. Trust me.
Yeah, they would have played him on wide left.
Yeah.
Mish?
I'm going to go the original Ronaldo, start, sub Ronaldinho, and then sells Zidane. For me, it's more... do you know what? For me, it's more about those moments. No. You said there was no wrong answer. So,
other than this one.
Whatever. No, the reason why I say it, because for me, it's more about impact on the game. I know you keep talking about Zidane, like in terms of like stomping all over a game, etc. But for me, these guys had moments that could actually change a game, like stays in your memory. I think those two, for me, if they weren't in a game, the game would have lost something. Like they each brought something so special to the game.
Did you not see Zidane's winner in the Champions League final?
But me personally, the moments that Ronaldo had, like I think
they were constant.
Exactly, and the things they were like, and it was almost like it was consistent as well. Like every game, and those moments stuck. Whereas Zidane, like I always remembered he was a good player, mainly when he played for France. I was like, oh yeah, actually, do you know what? He is a good player. But for the rest of the guys for the club, I think they probably did a little bit more. That's my opinion. You could disagree.
And that is fine.
There was no wrong answers, so I'm holding you.
There is no wrong answers, technically.
Backtracking. Bill, help me out. You normally go a bit left with your choices.
Come on, Bill. Go with your head.
I'm going to start R9. I'm going to bench Zidane, and then I'm selling Ronaldinho.
Yeah.
is
Safe, Phil.
I don't know. Yeah. No, I'm sticking with it.
I was going to say, don't seem sure, Billy. Do you know what? Do you want to change? You can sell Zidane if you want.
I'm definitely not selling Zidane. I know that for a fact.
Yes. Let me fall back.
Zidane has to be in the team somewhere. Whether he's on the bench or starting, he has to be in the team.
Fair, fine.
I think, like Joe touched upon as well, with R9, he would have, I think, without his knee injuries, he would have been classed as one of the greatest, I think. I mean, for me... I
think he still is, isn't he?
Yeah, for me
personally... That's the thing. He still is with them serious injuries. I mean, he lost so much pace and he lost so much fitness, but he was still excellent.
Yeah.
T?
This is easy for me. This is, you start R9, you sell Ronaldinho.
It wasn't that easy, was it?
It was that easy, yeah?
You sell Ronaldinho and then you bench Zidane. Listen, I mean, Ronaldinho, like, I still class him probably the best forward in my generation. And there's not a lot of players. If you actually look at his body of work or actually his like career, tell me any player that can go to Barcelona and Real Madrid and actually still be liked by both fans, enter Milan and AC Milan and still be liked by every single fan, go to United when he was injured and score a hat-trick, get taken off and get a round of applause, go to the 2002 World Cup, I believe.
Yeah.
Injured and literally still
top goal scorer as well, wasn't he?
And actually top like goal like scorer. And actually, again, this may be a little bit controversial, but in the 1998 World Cup final, the only reason why Zidane got, like his goals was because Ronaldo wasn't playing. Everyone, it was a top thing people were talking about. Ronaldo's not playing because and you can tell that the Brazilian team didn't even want to be there.
He was that good that I get what you're saying. The result might have been different on one person, which is quite strange because most teams miss one person, but they weren't there at all that evening, was it? Was it 3-0 in the end?
It was 3. Was it 3-0 or 3-1? Yeah, I think 3-0. Was it 3-0?
Yeah, Emmanuel Petit
and Zidane twice.
Yeah.
And again, there's nothing. Zidane's an amazing player, but he's got 2 identical goals, which again, routine and whatnot. And again, I still remember that goal against Bayer Leverkusen. That
Champions League winner. Oh, what a goal!
But you, Ronaldo for me is like my go-to guy, 100%. And I can have a bit of like angst when like people call Cristiano Ronaldo because
he's R9. So this is going to be our last one for this evening. I thought I'd finish on one that makes sure we don't speak in the week. Phil, get ready. Hold on to your chair.
Oh.
So I'm going to go first. This is one where I don't really want to go first. It's only because I'm doing the hosting tonight. I don't want to go first on this question.
I can go. I will go on this.
All right, Bill. All right.
I will stick by what I've got. So I will go first. I am starting Gerrard. I am benching Scholes. And I am selling Lampard.
What? Really?
Now, for me, Gerrard was a leader in terms of not just how good he was at football, but how he could pick a team up. Obviously, the known game is the Champions League final, but he'd done it in so many occasions in big games against West Ham in the FA Cup final. And I just loved Gerrard's passion and attitude. So that for me is why he would be the first name out of them 3 on my team sheet. Scholes was a superb football player. And actually for Scholes, it's the one thing I've always struggled with the English national team, even now. And that is English personnel, for whatever reason, they don't seem comfortable on the ball in the middle of the park. If they've got people around them 2-3 yards, we haven't got any Thiagos. We haven't got any people that are controlled in possession. For me, he is the one and only English person that I know of that is comfortable with the ball in the centre of midfield. I've never known another one. The only other one potentially, but he never reached that level where he was consistently able to play for England. The only other person I've known to have a similar level of confidence on the ball in tight spaces is Wilshere. But that was for a very small period of time, and his injuries meant he never progressed. So Scholes gets that for me. Lampard, I'm selling him. He was a goal scorer. Stats-wise, he smashes the other two out of the park. But for me, he played in awesome Chelsea teams, had a free role. I mean, I'm not dissing him. I love Lampard as well. But for me, the debate has always been that Gerrard is a better player than Lampard. And Scholes fits in between them two for me. And I don't think Lampard really succeeded at international level. I thought Gerrard was better for England, a lot better than Lampard.
Everyone's speechless, Joe.
I mean, there's silence.
There's silence. Everyone's like, Joe.
So you're not rating Lampard on the team he had, but what about Scholes' team? The team Scholes.
Yeah, but I'm rating Scholes coming through, scoring a couple of goals against an Irish team on his debut, from being an 18, 19-year-old lad who was a bit more attacking to, in a couple of years, dropping down, being a playmaker. I'm rating him right from the beginning, Scholes. Outstanding talent. And like I say, my biggest issue with English players and the England national team and why I think we've never won anything is because we do not breed players who are comfortable on the ball in the middle of the park. We never have. And I mean, it's my opinion. You could disagree, but we do not have people that are comfortable in possession. And for me, it's, we obviously don't coach it properly, and he is a freak of nature in terms of the little give and goes. Yes, he weren't the best tackler ever, but for that reason and that reason alone, I wish we had more Paul Scholes-ish. Scholes is.
I so wish I could end on that note, but I don't want to.
Someone come with me.
No one's coming on this journey with you. Sorry.
Actually, Nana is with me.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. That is not another account I've made up.
Nana,
yes.
Fair. You've got another fan. I would start Lampard, sub on Gerrard, and sell Scholes. You can't deny. I know you were like the stats, Lampard dwarfs them. He does. And actually, to be fair, like, even if he played for Chelsea, he played for City, he scored quite a few goals at City as well. So, like, actually, it wasn't just a one club situation.
He didn't score many at City.
He scored a few, though. He did. I mean, he scored, obviously not as much as Chelsea, but, I mean, he obviously didn't play as many games, but he did all right at City.
I think he only scored like 2 or 3 for them.
Yeah, but still, like, at least he scored. You were talking about him having free reign in the Chelsea team, and obviously he played a different system in City, and he still scored. So you have to give Lampard his props. In the England debate is interesting because obviously there was a whole debate of whether Lampard and Gerrard could play together, etc. I just think the England team, as in like not everyone always fares well in the England team. That's a standard thing. Like everyone has to think of the argument about club versus like.
Well, with England, you have to do what the manager says, don't you? You haven't got as much freedom as where you play and what formation.
And actually, obviously, the rotation's a lot higher as well in England. Yeah. So I don't think you can really like judge based on that. So Gerrard, I think he has a point in terms of like his character, etc. But again, you can't ignore the stats and what Lampard has won and achieved. Yeah, that's my opinion. And Scholes, do you know what? Actually, I do feel like, as you were saying, like certain English players are like underrated. I think Scholes massively was. I think like I knew it was good. Like he obviously played for Man United, but I think when I saw him on that, like back in the day, like Nike did the Scorpion Challenge, like when you played like football in like the cages, and Scholes is up there with Ronaldinho, and I was just like, what? Scholes is a big boy. But Do you know what? Fair play to him, but I'll still sell him. No offense. The stats just don't.
Fine.
Yeah, I'm the exact same as Shell on this. It's starting Lampard, subbing Gerrard, and then selling Scholes. I think with Lampard, you have to remember Drogba, when he came to Chelsea and how he was performing, a lot of people judge Drogba off of his stats, not scoring enough goals. But he made way for people like Lampard to score them goals. And I think if Drogba comes into a Chelsea team and Lampard turns around and says, "Hold on a minute, mate, you're not scoring these goals, I am," as a midfielder, I also have to say that with Lampard, he was a genius, of one of the best to ever do the late run into the box.
Very, very good at timing.
Ready to receive the ball and shoot, or ready to make that late run into the space. And yeah, as a Chelsea fan, I will. But I also have to admit that it's all about preference in this, I think that if you're looking for a midfielder who scores more goals, gets more involved in the attacking side of it than the other two, I think Gerrard is more of the overall leader and the personality in it all. And I think someone who you'd want them more. Or with Scholes, who was more technical.
More of a knitter, Scholes, wasn't he? Like knit that central part together.
So I think it's all down to preference and what team you support as well comes into it. I think obviously Shelby and Arsenal, she could select whoever she wants, and luckily she made the right decision.
I was honest, you know.
And you made the right decision. That's all that matters.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks.
Well, I was going to do what you three done to me.
I was speechless. I can't see selling Lampard. I just can't. But yeah, for me, it would go exactly like it says down the bottom here: Lampard, Gerrard, then Scholes. I would sell Scholes. But yeah, it's all down to personal.
What are you saying, T?
This is very easy for me. Very easy.
Okay.
You are starting Gerrard, you are selling Lampard, and you are benching Scholes. It's
the same as me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Joel.
Why? Okay.
Joel, I totally agree.
Why?
Why were you silent when I finished it?
Because you know what? I was kind of quietly, patiently waiting. I don't want to talk too much, but again, if you're going to take Lampard and Scholes into that Liverpool team, I don't think they would literally have the same influence that Gerrard did. Gerrard actually changed his game the older he became. So of course he started off as a number 8 box to box, and then he was a number, like a number 10 and attacking, and then he dropped to a number 6 as well. And again, he was absolutely amazing. His ability was just second to none. If you can look at his quote-unquote striking partners that he kind of played with, of course, he played with Morientes, he played with Crouch, he played with Torres, he played with Suarez. And if you can look at the goals, the influence, yes, it's a kind of different day and age now in terms of tackling. But again, it kind of looked, every time you got tackled by Gerrard, you knew that you was in a game. If you kind of look also at his injury record, especially at the beginning, he was struggling. And like Liverpool, like credit to the club, they literally said, we need this player, this kind of unknown guy that no one knows about, to be fully fit, because this guy's going to be our leader for a decade and a bit. And you know what? Lo and behold, an amazing player. Lampard, there's nothing wrong with Lampard. However, again, I think Joe said it as well. He had the freedom of the park. He had Makelele, he had John Terry, he had Carvalho. He had kind of people around him that literally made his job easier. Joe, you kind of, Billy, you kind of even admitted that Drogba created space for Lampard to get into the box. Even I could have done, I could have been Lampard and just literally stayed around.
Whoa. No.
Straight up.
No.
Come on, and we are talking about Damien Duff, we are talking about Joe Cole in their prime. It was easy. It was so easy for Lampard. Scholes as well kind of went through the generations as well. Everyone knows that he couldn't tackle, but I think for me, Gerrard, and I think you guys have alluded to it again, for England captain, he was probably the longest serving of those players in the England team, and honestly, you can't beat his ability. He's that type of player. If you were in the changing room with him, he would inspire you. If he was on the opposition and looking at him, you think, oh my gosh, it's going to be a long afternoon, because he had everything. So you've got to start Gerrard. I'm binning Lampard. Not been selling him. I'm binning him, and then literally I'll kind of keep scores on the bench.
And as Nan's comment here saying, out of the three, who can take the game by the scruff of the neck? And I think we could all agree that particular point, we'd probably all pick Gerrard in terms of picking up a game. So I don't think we've not disagreed about their attributes, just the order really. Because I think, would you agree? All four of us would say if it's by the scruff of the neck, it would be him. But
100%.
But the question is,
I don't know. Billy didn't really agree.
I prefer not to speak.
And then we've got Frank Chinoza.
That is brilliant.
Right, thanks for tuning in, everyone, this evening. And good night. God bless. We'll be back this time next week, 8 o'clock, with not these games, but hopefully some real results and reactions from next weekend's fixtures. See you later, T. See you later, Bill.
Cheers.
Bye.
See you later, Shell. Bye.